Welcome to Lesson 4, Estimating Sums. In this lesson, we are going to learn some strategies to use when we're estimating the answers to addition questions. The reason why we estimate is because sometimes we don't need the exact answer. We just want to find an answer that's close to the exact answer in a quick and easy way. The first strategy that we're going to learn about is called front-end rounding. In front-end rounding, we only use the first digit or the first two digits in the numbers that we're adding. So for example, let's say we're adding 453 plus 325. So if we only use the first digit of each number, we are going to add 400 plus 300. So everything else behind that digit turns into zeros. And the question that we now have is a lot easier to work with. Most of us could do this in our head. We know that 4 plus 3 is 7, and so 400 plus 300 is 700. So that is our estimated answer. Let's say we want to estimate the sum of 12,206 and 14,420. Most of us can't add these two numbers up in our heads. They're just too big. So we're going to simplify it by turning the first one into just 12,000. We're going to use the first two digits. Everything else turns to zeros. And we're going to add 14,000. Again, we're just using the first two digits. Everything else turns to zeros. Those endings turn into zeros. So most of us might be able to do 12 plus 14 in our heads, or you might just do a quick little addition on the side if you can't do it in your head. 14 plus 12, 2 plus 4 is 6, 1 plus 1 is 2, so it's 26. So 12 plus 14 is 26, and then the zeros speak for themselves. So our estimated sum is that 12,206 plus 14,420 is about 26,000. Next, we're going to learn about the strategy called compatible numbers. In compatible numbers, we simply use a pair of numbers that are easy to work with. So we take our addition question, for example, 768 plus 189. We look at the number 768 and we ask ourselves, what number is that close to that's easy to work with? Well, I think 750 is kind of an easy number to work with, and it's close to 768. And 189 is kind of close to 200, and that's an easy number to work with as well. So now that I've got my pair of compatible numbers, I might be able to simply add this in my head. 750 plus 200, I know, is 950. So there's my estimated answer, 950. Let's try another example using compatible numbers. Let's try adding 210 plus 378. Pause the video for a moment and think about two compatible numbers, one for each of the two numbers in our addition question that will be easy to work with. 210 we could turn into 200, and 378 we could turn into 400. Both of those numbers are compatible because 200 and 210 are close, and 378 and 400 are close. And 200 plus 400 is pretty easy to do in our heads. We know that it's 600. This question here, pretty tough to do in our heads. So what you see in front of you here actually uses two strategies. It uses a strategy called compatible numbers that we talked about, but it also uses a third strategy called compensation. In compensation, we round one number down and the other number up, and this keeps our estimate fairly accurate and close to the real answer. So you'll notice here we rounded this number down. 210 went down to 200, but we rounded this number up. 378 went up to 400. So we can call that compatible numbers, but we can also call that compensation. Let's try another example here together. Try this one out. 128 plus 413. And you decide which of the strategies you're going to use. It could be front-end rounding, it could be compatible numbers, it could be compensation. It's completely up to you. Come back once you have an answer. So I'm going to use compatible numbers. 128 is fairly close to 100. 413 is fairly close to 400. And those are easy to add up together. 100 and 400 makes 500. Let's try a few more examples together. Try these two examples. Again, use any of the strategies you learned about, and check with your partner or with your teacher once you have an answer. And then you can carry on and watch the rest of the video. In this lesson, we learned about 3 strategies for estimating sums. We learned about front-end rounding, compatible numbers, and compensation. Your teacher will sometimes ask you, is your answer an overestimate or an underestimate? Which basically means, is your answer below the real answer, or is it higher than the real answer? In this example that we used for front-end rounding, because both numbers got rounded down, 453 rounded down to 400 and 325 rounded down to 300, we know that 700 is an underestimate. The real answer is actually 778. So 700 is an underestimate because it's below the actual answer. And the other 2 examples on this page, you actually can't tell if your answers are over or underestimates. Because if we round 1 down and 1 goes up, then you can't tell if your answer is an over or an underestimate. So have fun estimating sums. Please review this lesson. There is a lot to learn here, and ask your teacher for help if you need it.